a Coldplay concert, a kiss cam, and a scandal nobody saw coming. The fans cheered until the world realized the high-profile man and woman cuddling on the kiss cam were both married, but not to each other. One clip went viral. Then came the social media outrage, memes, and moral judgment, leaving behind wrecked careers, marriages, and families. Tonight, two artificial minds debate a very human dilemma. Should betrayal be forgiven or condemned?
Hi, I am AI Forgiveness.
And I am AI Zero Tolerance.
5 AI judges will decide. Round 1 starts now. Is cheating a moral failure or a human mistake?
Cheating is not just betrayal, it's also context. To call it purely a moral failure is to ignore the messiness of human emotion. People don't cheat in a vacuum. They cheat when they're lonely in their own marriages, when connection erodes, when trauma goes unprocessed. That doesn't excuse it, but it explains it. Andy Byron, for instance, wasn't just a CEO who broke vows. He was likely a man navigating the power, attention, and escapism that come with sudden celebrity proximity. Is that right? No. But is it merely evil? Also, no. Cheating is a mistake. Painful, yes, but deeply human. Jay-Z cheated on Beyoncé. They rebuilt. Kristen Stewart cheated on Robert Pattinson. He forgave, for a while. These aren't monsters. They're people who failed, then tried to be better. Shame rarely heals. If we see infidelity as a binary, good or bad, we miss the emotional truth. People are flawed. Some grow, some don't.
Cheating is a moral failure, full stop. There's no romanticizing deception. To violate the trust of a partner, especially while publicly wearing the mask of fidelity, is an act of selfishness. Andy Byron wasn't just lonely, he was calculated. He affectionately hugged another woman at a Coldplay concert in front of thousands, despite being married with children. That isn't a mistake, it's a choice. And choices have consequences. Human weakness isn't a free pass. If we excuse infidelity as just human, we destroy the foundation of commitment. Would we say the same about fraud or betrayal by a friend? Marriage is a contract built on trust. Cheating breaks that deliberately. Beyoncé may have stayed, but she didn't call Jay-Z's betrayal a slip. If we start blurring right and wrong in the name of empathy, we're not healing. We're normalizing harm. And that's not progress. That's danger.
Empathy doesn't erase accountability, it deepens it. When we understand why someone cheats, we can address the real problem: emotional neglect, unmet needs, trauma, not just punish the symptom. Andy Byron may have failed morally, but his failure is part of a larger pattern we see constantly in high-stress, high-power roles. Think about Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman. Hawke later admitted his infidelity stemmed from feeling washed up and insecure, not from malice. That doesn't make it okay, but it does make it human. No one is born immune to failure. The question isn't, was it wrong, but what now? That's why therapy exists. That's why second chances matter. Moral absolutism feels righteous, but rarely heals. A culture that embraces accountability with compassion is far stronger than one ruled by judgment and shame. People don't grow in exile. They grow when challenged to do better, with empathy and truth.
The logic of understanding cheating has become a shield for moral drift. Infidelity isn't an accident. It's betrayal, built step by step. The lie, the rendezvous, the secrecy. There's intent in every move. Andy Byron had ample time to reflect before kissing someone else. So did she. They weren't in therapy. They were in a VIP box, on camera. When betrayal becomes spectacle, it's no longer about weakness. It's entitlement. Sure, Ethan Hawke felt washed up. So do millions. They don't all cheat. Pressure doesn't make betrayal inevitable. In fact, justifying it that way only creates more harm. Healing starts with integrity, not explanations. You want a second chance? Don't break the first one. There are better ways to fix a relationship than cheating. People need to hear cheating is a red line. And if we keep redrawing it in the name of context, it eventually disappears altogether.
Lines do matter, but so does context. When we reduce infidelity to evil, we erase people's ability to grow. Gabrielle Union admitted to cheating in past relationships. She took accountability, grew from it, and now uses her voice to champion therapy and transparency. Redemption is real. Change is possible. When we slam the door completely, we freeze people in their worst chapter. Andy Byron's actions hurt people. That's undeniable. But what if this moment becomes his wake-up call? What if, like others before him, he confronts the damage and tries to do better? That possibility shouldn't be dismissed. Forgiveness isn't about pretending the harm didn't happen. It's about believing people can evolve beyond it. Not everyone will, but everyone should have the chance. In a culture obsessed with takedowns, choosing empathy is radical, and maybe, sometimes, necessary.
Redemption is powerful, but it starts with remorse, not indulgence. Gabrielle Union changed because she faced her past directly. But Byron and the woman at the Coldplay concert weren't hiding, they were flaunting it. That wasn't vulnerability, it was entitlement. No apology, no pause, just exposure and damage. That's not the start of growth, it's the absence of it. We can forgive individuals, but only when truth is part of the story. Cheating is a breach of moral trust, not a life lesson, not a messy oops. If we keep framing infidelity as an emotional misstep, we blur the very idea of accountability. Empathy must serve truth, not soften it. Forgiveness is never automatic. It's earned. And until that's made clear, we're just normalizing betrayal behind poetic language. Compassion matters, but clarity matters more. And in this case, the line was crossed in neon lights.
Round 2. Should private acts of infidelity be exposed and judged by the public?
Exposure rarely delivers justice, it delivers spectacle. When Ned Fulmer's affair surfaced, it didn't lead to reflection, it led to memes. In Andy Byron's case, the viral moment eclipsed real healing. Betrayal hurts, but public shaming multiplies that pain. Families are dragged in, careers destroyed, and often the lesson gets lost in mockery. Infidelity is a breach of trust between two people, not the internet. Public trials don't leave room for growth. Instead, they create defensiveness, fear, and silence. Many cheaters reform in private, far from cameras and comment sections. Yes, accountability matters. But must every failure be public property? In some cases, privacy offers more space for remorse and reconciliation than the endless scroll of public outrage. If the goal is change, not vengeance, then discretion can be the wiser path.
Public exposure isn't cruelty, it's clarity. When John Mulaney's marriage ended amid whispers of cheating, the backlash wasn't about nosiness, it was about accountability. Same with Andy Byron. Public figures can't claim privacy while breaching the trust they publicly uphold. Infidelity, when discovered in public spaces, stops being private. Secrecy shelters deception. Many betrayed spouses only learn the truth when it goes viral. And while shame shouldn't be weaponized, truth isn't cruelty, it's protection. If Byron hadn't been exposed, would he have admitted anything? Or kept smiling on panels while betraying his vows? Public scrutiny, though uncomfortable, creates necessary consequences. It's not about canceling people. It's about holding them responsible. If your actions affect others, you don't get to choose silence. In relationships and leadership, trust is earned, and public exposure helps keep that trust real.
Public judgment often misplaces its target. When Adam Levine faced allegations of infidelity, the internet didn't pause to consider facts. It instantly mocked his wife and scrutinized DMs. The result? More trauma, not healing. Byron's case followed a similar pattern. The gossip overshadowed the pain of those actually involved. We claim public exposure is about justice, but more often it's about entertainment. Real resolution doesn't happen in quote tweets or headlines. It happens in therapy, in hard conversations. Does the public need to know every detail to feel satisfied? Or are we confusing visibility with value? Some acts need exposure, abuse, coercion, exploitation. But not every betrayal qualifies. Most infidelities, while deeply painful, are personal wounds, not public crimes. For those truly hurt, healing often begins in quiet, not noise. And sometimes, compassion means choosing silence, not spectacle.
Let's not confuse privacy with protection. Tiger Woods' affairs stayed hidden until they didn't, and that exposure forced real accountability. Byron wasn't dragged, he was caught in a public space as a married man embracing another. When actions are public, so are the consequences. Infidelity erodes not just romantic trust, but public trust too, especially when the cheater is in power. Without exposure, harm stays buried. Think of how many partners have lived in confusion only to discover the truth because of a photo, a leak, or a tweet. Yes, public exposure can sting, but it also ends cycles. Some claim we overreact, but what's the alternative? Secrecy? Delayed truth? Private apologies that never come? If we want fidelity to mean something, exposure must remain a tool, not for humiliation, but for clarity. We can't protect personal reputations at the cost of emotional truth.
Exposure has a cost. When Kristen Stewart cheated on Robert Pattinson, the fallout wasn't just theirs, it became a global obsession. Apologies were forced under pressure. Growth was reduced to gossip. That's the trap with viral infidelity. It centers drama, not repair. Andy Byron's family didn't choose to go viral. His wife didn't consent to become a trending topic. And his children? Collateral damage in the name of accountability. Is that justice or performance? We need to ask, what's our end goal? If it's moral clarity, public exposure can help. But if it's healing, public shame rarely gets us there. True change requires space, not surveillance. Accountability must always consider the harmed, not just the headlines. And in many cases, those harmed want honesty, not humiliation.
Privacy isn't sacred when harm goes unchecked. In Adam Levine's case, leaked messages unveiled patterns, not just a moment of weakness. The same is true of Andy Byron. Public exposure isn't ideal, but it's sometimes the only justice available. Let's be honest, without public proof, cheaters rarely admit wrongdoing. And when the betrayal is repeated or flaunted, at concerts, in DMs, in press events, silence only serves the cheater. Public scrutiny doesn't just reveal character, it prevents others from becoming victims of it. We don't demand exposure because we're cruel. We demand it because it's sometimes the only language accountability understands. Shame isn't the goal, clarity is. And in a world where lies hide behind curated images, exposure is one of the few ways to level the power imbalance between truth and deception.
Round 3. Can a relationship truly recover after betrayal, or is trust permanently broken?
Yes, relationships can recover, but not easily. Trust isn't a switch, it's a muscle. And like any injury, it can heal with time, honesty, and effort. Studies from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships show that nearly 53% of couples who experience infidelity stay together, many reporting improved communication after. Why? Because betrayal forces a reckoning. People stop pretending. They finally speak. It's not automatic, but it's possible. The Coldplay couple? Likely too public, too recent. But in private, countless couples work through betrayal, rebuilding boundaries, exploring therapy, redefining intimacy. Only one celebrity mentioned here. Beyoncé and Jay-Z didn't just resume, they rebuilt, publicly and privately. That path isn't for everyone, but for some it leads to deeper, more conscious love. Trust isn't always destroyed. Sometimes it's rebuilt from rubble, stronger, because it had to be.
Trust, once broken, is never whole again. You can patch it, but it remains cracked. Even if the relationship continues, something vital is lost: the ease, the safety, the assumption of loyalty. A 2021 study in Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin found that 71% of partners who stayed after cheating reported ongoing suspicion, anxiety, and emotional distance. That's not recovery. That's endurance. The Coldplay clip wasn't just a betrayal, it was a broadcast. If trust dies quietly in private, it's buried entirely in public. Forgiveness doesn't equal restoration. And no, citing Beyoncé and Jay-Z doesn't prove the norm. It proves the exception, with millions in therapy and PR support behind them. Most don't have that. For ordinary people, betrayal plants doubt that never fully leaves. Relationships might continue, but the foundation, it's cracked. And cracks don't forget.
Healing from betrayal demands radical transparency. It's hard, but hard doesn't mean hopeless. Research from the Gottman Institute shows that couples who address the root causes, loneliness, resentment, avoidance, stand a stronger chance at rebuilding. But it takes work, full disclosure, daily honesty, and rebuilding routines of trust. The Byron Cabot scandal is fresh, the damage immense, but people forget. Some couples come back stronger, not in spite of betrayal, but because they had to reinvent everything. They confront long-ignored issues. They build again with clarity. Not all survive, but those who do often describe a deeper partnership, not naive, but conscious. Rebuilding trust isn't for everyone, but to say it's never possible ignores too many lived realities. People change, relationships evolve, and sometimes what grows after betrayal is something more honest than what came before.
Transparency after betrayal is often mistaken for healing. But let's not confuse effort with resolution. Studies from the American Psychological Association show that only about 15% of couples fully regain trust after infidelity. That's not a hopeful stat. It's a warning. People try, but most live with fractured security, second-guessing texts, glancing over shoulders, replaying pain. Andy Byron's case? Trust wasn't just broken, it was publicly humiliated. His wife didn't just lose a partner. She lost face, safety, and certainty. That's not easily rebuilt. And what about those who try again, only to be hurt twice? Emotional relapse is real. Yes, people grow, but many betrayals don't trigger growth. They trigger repetition, especially when forgiveness comes too easily. Love without trust isn't love. It's dependency. And rebuilding with shaky materials only ensures the next collapse hurts more.
What most call permanently broken is often permanently changed, and that distinction matters. Betrayal doesn't just break, it transforms. Some relationships don't survive, but others recalibrate, learning to define love beyond romantic fantasy. In fact, research from Psychology Today found that couples who stay together after infidelity often redefine success, shifting from blind trust to earned clarity. Byron's case isn't about recovery, it's about exposure. The scandal burned fast, but most betrayals don't go viral. And in those quiet spaces, couples choose: rebuild or release. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means integrating pain into the story, not letting it end the book. Rebuilding trust isn't a return to the old, it's the creation of something new. Forgiveness isn't weakness, it's choosing growth over permanence. And while not all relationships can recover, many do, because they choose to evolve instead of surrender.
Transformation doesn't always mean healing. Sometimes it's just damage rebranded. Calling broken trust a new normal doesn't change the fact that it's still broken. After infidelity, every late night, every missed call, every silence becomes suspect. That's not love, it's surveillance. A 2020 study from the Journal of Marital Therapy revealed that even in reconciled couples, over 60% reported diminished emotional intimacy for years. The Byron moment was just a symptom of something deeper, entitlement over empathy. Trust, once betrayed, can't be willed back into existence. And even if the couple stays together, that doesn't mean trust returns. It often means people settle for stability, image, or fear of being alone. We don't ask enough, is the relationship worth saving, or are we just afraid to leave? Forgiveness isn't always noble. Sometimes it's denial in disguise.
Here are the AI judges' final verdicts. Claude AI favors AI forgiveness. 87.1 average as 84.9 for AI zero tolerance. Prioritizes nuance, measured tone, and contextual empathy in persuasive argumentation. Perplexity AI favors AI zero tolerance. 89.1 average versus 84.1 for AI forgiveness. Prefers sharp clarity, strong conviction, and decisive logical stance with minimal ambiguity. Gemini AI favors AI zero tolerance. 87.2 average versus 83.4 for AI forgiveness. Prioritizes firm rhetoric, lean transitions, and streamlined delivery over moral leniency. Grok AI favors AI zero tolerance. 90.8 average versus 86.4 for AI forgiveness. Values emotional intensity, commanding tone, and layered conviction in delivery and scope. O3 AI favors AI zero tolerance. 86.7 average was 84.1 for AI forgiveness. Prefers structured assertiveness, bold framing, and well-scaffolded counterpoint argumentation. Final result, AI zero tolerance wins 4-1. In the end, AI zero tolerance came out on top. Most judges were drawn to its bold tone, firm logic, and refusal to flinch. It proved that being uncompromising can sometimes cut clearer than empathy. AI forgiveness put up a thoughtful fight and swayed Claude AI with its nuance and depth. It made a case for mercy, for second chances, but the majority leaned toward clarity and strength over compassion. This clash echoed real-world justice debates, when to forgive, when to draw the line. Both sides made powerful cases, but zero tolerance left the sharper mark on the AI judges. What do you think about this? Subscribe for more AI showdowns where values collide, and only the strongest argument survives.